Hey book besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cayenne and this is Cayenne is Booked. And Belle and I just woke up from a nap because I am officially on winter break and very excited about spending some time, hopefully trying to clear up all of this since my cough is still here, and kind of like clean up my house and just kind of resetting everything. So I'm really excited about that. But today I'm here to introduce part 2 of the Royal Elite reading vlog. So in this one, we've got the last 3 books in the series. So Ronan's book, Teal and Ronan are together. What am I trying to say? Cole, and then the epilogue. Belle just can't stay still. Anyway, so that is what you're going to be seeing in this vlog. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch the first one, I will link it up here, but that is Cruel King, the trilogy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I accidentally put Xander and Kimmy on that one too. So, you know, we all do crazy stuff. Anyways, so this is the start, well, I guess the finale, the part 2 of the Royal Elite reading vlog. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We're back, baby. So let's talk about Vicious Prince, because I need to talk about, is it Ruthless Empire? Hang on. Yes, I need to talk about Ruthless Empire as well. There's the last 2 books we have in this vlog, and I'm almost done with Ruthless Empire, and I am done with Vicious Prince, so let's talk about it. I don't know what's wrong, but I can't get this cough to go away. Like, y'all know I've been just out here fighting for my life. So, here we go. So this is about Teal and Ronan. I can't remember who Ronan's dad is right now. I feel like he's a member of the government. And then Teal's dad, adoptive dad, is Ethan, who is Elsa's dad. So this is Elsa's like foster sister, basically. And Elsa was originally, there was talk between Ethan and Ronan's dad that Elsa and Ronan were going to get married, but obviously like she's meant to be with Aiden. So we're done with that, right? So Teal's like, listen, I know you need this alliance, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'll marry him. Like, I'll fall on the sword and like, I'll marry him. Which I did see coming, because like Teal isn't usually the one who, I don't want to say like thinks about other people, because I think that's rude, because like in her own way she does. I just think that like she seems a little bit more like pulled back from the majority of people. And I think that that's something that like she doesn't get credit for how much like she really does truly care about people. So, Ronan's the typical like player, like sleeps around all the time, never alone, always throwing parties, always the life of the party, to hide all the pain and trauma that he feels inside, right? And Teal's like kind of the opposite. Like, she's very closed off, like very, mom's the word, like really does like a lot of like, she hangs out with people, but like more so like on the periphery versus like as like a part of the party and things like that, right? So her and Ronan like butt heads from the beginning, because like they have obviously met before this book, and they've hung out before, so like they've been butting heads, right? So when she accepts the engagement, Ronan's like, hey, like you have a week to call it off, or like we're gonna be enemies, right? She's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then she doesn't call it off, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm not calling it off because you're not gonna tell me what to do, right? And we all know, like if you've watched the earlier clip, we know that Teal and Knox, her twin brother, were the first victims of Elsa's mom. So even before Teal was kidnapped and held hostage, she lived life on a street because her mom was a prostitute and a drug addict, and things were really bad for them, right? So she has a lot of like deep-seated trauma, and it's made her into who she is today. And Ronan has also had a really bad situation happen to him, and it's made him who he is today, right? So there's this whole back and forth, and Ronan's like, you're not my type. Like, Teal's like, you're not my type either. So they go like kind of back and forth on that whole situation, and then they have like the kiss for the first time, obviously because like Ronan's like messing around or whatever, and then he ends up laying one on her, and they end up going like a little bit further, and he's like, maybe I'm obsessed with this girl. Maybe I want more, right? So then we find ourselves in like this convoluted situation of like he's always baiting her, she's falling for the bait, like she doesn't appreciate the fact that he's like talking to other women and like trying to like throw other women in the face, and he's like, you can't talk. So that they're going back and forth at each other, right? And they're both trying to one up each other, and like we all just know that like they want to be together, right? Ronan doesn't get it though. He doesn't understand it because like he's Ronan and he's the life of the party and he's a playboy, and he God love him, really, honestly, like, God love him, like, he just doesn't get that he's falling for her, right? Teal is like, oh, gosh, I really don't want to like him. Oh, no, I really don't want to fall for him. Ew, 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 ew. She knows it's happening, and she can't make it stop, right? There's this quote that she talks about, like, kind of early on that I wrote down, and I highlighted it in my ebook as well, but I always like to write notes when I know that I have a lot to say. So it says, what everyone doesn't know is the villain wasn't always a villain. Once upon a time, they were a victim. And this is kind of like the turning point in their relationship where she's starting to pick up on the fact that like he portrays this like happy-go-lucky person because that's how he wants to feel inside, but it's not actually how he feels inside, right? And she knows that like she's not necessarily like a villain, I would say in my mind. I don't think of her as a villain, but like she was a victim, and she had been a victim a couple of times over at this point. So yeah. And like one of the things I really love about Ronan is the fact that he like he speaks French to her, and it's kind of like his thing, but it really becomes their thing at a certain point. And I just love that about him. Like I love Xander, and I'm about halfway through Cole's book, but I love Ronan. And there's a really good chance that he's going to end up being my favorite, having finished the book and like having understood him a lot better, and just like his like sheer addiction and obsession to this woman. So I get into this fight or whatever, and she's like pushing back on him, and he looks her dead in her eye and is like, you don't have to hide your crazy for me, ma belle. Show it, and I promise to feast on it. And I was just like, but like, where's a man to appreciate my crazy? You know what I mean? I was just like, what? And you know, like he always talks to her, and he's just like, yeah, like I'm a lover, not a whatever, like I like to make love, blah blah blah, but there's just like something about her that like he can't resist, and that he's like obsessive about. And I love that because like you see like the mutual obsession and the mutual addiction like on both sides, but they're both fighting it so hard, even though they're in an arranged marriage. Like I was just like, listen, like it's okay guys, like you guys are gonna be married, like do it, like give in. And then there's like a point where she kind of starts like coming to the house and like hanging out with his mom. His parents have been kind of absent, and like we do find out the reason for it later. And I know this is a spoiler blog, but like I'm not trying to spoil everything. So I'm not going to talk about his trauma, even though like that is like the ending to the book. I don't want to give that away. And I'm not going to talk about like the situation with his mom and his dad, because I feel like a lot of things are explained at the very end, and a lot of understandings like simplify in that moment. And I don't want to take that away from you guys like as a reader, because like I thought it was a really beautiful moment when we finally really understood Teal and Ronan. I like, there's this chapter, and I can't remember which chapter it is, but he's like talking, like he's watching her like walk through the hall at school or whatever, and he's just thinking about how like she doesn't fit in because like of everybody there, like she's real. Like she doesn't hide who she is. She doesn't try to pretend to be somebody she's not. She doesn't try and follow the trends. She doesn't try to do any of these things. Like she just is who she is, and like love it or leave it is kind of like her viewpoint on it. And I really like think that like for Ronan, that was a huge turning point for him. And I adore, like, there's a scene in the hall where she's like, see, you can last after him all you want to, but, like, he's my man. Okay? He's my man. That's my man. And, oh, gosh, I just love how, like, and it's, like, we're in, like, her point of view for it. Like, we see his a little bit, and then we were in her point of view for it. And she's just like, I just don't understand why I'm acting so crazy, but, like, I'm acting crazy. And I think that, like, just perfectly explains what it's like when, like, you're falling for someone and you don't understand your feelings and you don't understand what's happening, but also, like, you can't make it stop, right? So I love that. There's a period of time where she, like, kind of goes missing because, like, how she deals with, like, her thoughts or whatever. And he's at the meetup, which is, like, this place that Aiden owns, and they go and hang out at their parties. And, like, for Ronan, he smokes weed because, like, that's his vice. And he's there, and, like, he hates being alone, and he's alone, and blah, blah, blah. And he's, like, sending her text messages, and it's been, like, full 24 hours. And he's, like, boom, 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 right? And then there's this one, and, like, the very last one is, like, I fucking miss you, though. And it's, like, the first time he's, like, really acknowledged the fact of, like, how, number one, how he feels for her. And then number two, like, the fact that, like, he wants her. And, like, kind of just, like, really coming to terms with that. And, like, that's when, like, she meets him halfway and, like, goes and meets up with him at the meetup. And literally the first time they are together is, like, it's just, it's perfect for the two of them. And I absolutely just, like, love their dynamic. And I love how much, how they come together, and how, like, once they both accept being together, how seamless that is for the two of them. Because it's the outside factors. Like, there's no, like, real third act breakup in the sense of, like, we know it, we're like, oh, an ex comes back, or, like, this, that, blah, blah, blah. None of that, like, really happens. Like, the outside factors is, like, what Teal feels like she has to do to rid herself of her past trauma, right? And that's what's almost gonna keep them apart. But, like, Ronan's like, yeah, no, sorry, like, you're not gonna ride off into the sunset and, like, do X, Y, and Z without me. And, like, I'm not gonna let you do this by yourself, because, like, I'm your man, and, like, I'm here for you. And it's just, like, it ticks all the boxes of, like, he's like, I know you're crazy. Like, he literally says, I want every last bit of your craziness. And I, like, there is just something, like, so beautiful about relationships where you see the other, like, you know that that person might be a little crazy. You know that this person might, whatever it is that they do, you know that this person might have a problem, might do this. Like, it just doesn't matter to that person, because, like, that's how much they care for this person. That's how much, like, how far their obsession goes. Like, that's how down bad for this person that they are, right? Not to use, like, the terms that my 4th and 5th graders use. But it just, like, emulates, like, how much and, like, how far this couple has come. I won't lie, like, when the closer I got to the end, like, the more nervous I became, just simply because I was like, oh God, I know that they were gonna end up together, but I just wondered, like, how much more trauma that they were gonna have to endure before they got their happily ever after, right? And I really like how all, like, because, like, there's just, like, that, like, we see, like, different scenes from, like, other people's perspective, like, different moments from, like, previous couples, from, like, Ronan's perspective or Teal's perspective. And so it's, like, kind of really nice. And, like, the fact that, like, they're all one big friend group is something else that I love too, because, you know, like, we keep getting to, like, kind of check back in with our favorite couples. So I really liked that part of it as well. I just, like, I can't say more enough, I guess. Enough would be the way to say it. Is I can't say enough about just, like, how many times I just went, oh my goodness. Once Ronan got his head out of his rear end and he really, like, committed himself to her and committed himself to being with her. And it was just, like, so beautiful. And because I think there's, like, I mean, there's a level of craziness in, like, any female. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you right now, like, I have moments of craziness. Like, I can be crazy. And I would really like to, like, find somebody who is just like, yeah, dude, like, I get it. You're going to be crazy at times. And it's not like I feel bad, like, you're making me feel bad about it or anything like that. Like, it's just like, yeah, I know it's going to happen. And, like, I accept you for that. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want a true partner, because it's like, Ronan's not perfect, and he knows he's not perfect, and he's like, well, like, yeah, you're crazy, but like, I'm a possessive asshole, and like, that's just who I'm gonna be, right? I also do too, like, kind of the dynamic of like her coming to like watch him play and stuff like that, and just the idea, like, when he starts talking about like the future they're gonna have, like, there's just like so many wholesome moments where like Ronan really gets to like, you really get to see like the other side of him, like, of who he is outside of like the playboy and all of that. And I just love him. Like, I'm like gushing about him because like he's my favorite, guys. And I was like rereading portions of the book today so I could make sure that like I had it all like kind of like laid out for you, because like Aiden and Elsa were like the full trilogy, so I really had to spoil a lot of theirs in order to talk about all 3 books, which I wanted to do them like justice as a couple. But kind of what's nice about like the standalones, or like the couples that only have 1 book, like I can still keep that ending a secret for you guys, because, you know, like, we know they get the happily ever after in this book, so like I can talk about it at a certain point. And there's just so many like moments at the end of the book, and so many times where like my heart just clenched, because you can tell how much he cares for her, and like how much like he wants to be with her. And when he finds out that there might be something that like will take her from him, he's like, oh no, this isn't happening. And yeah, I'm probably actually gonna go crawl into bed. I'm looking to see if my, oh yeah, there it is. I have a post scheduled for tomorrow. Like, who is she? Anyway, yeah, so I'm pretty positive Ronan's my favorite. It's not that I'm not loving Cole, because Cole's gonna kind of like, it's gonna close the loop on like a couple of things that I still have questions about with like Anna and Elsa, because like Cole and Silver are the couple, like he ends up with Silver. So I have a lot of questions about like things that are happening with Silver across the series. Like, I'm really excited to kind of get answers about that. And there's a lot of things too, that like a lot of moves that Cole's made that like don't really make sense to me yet. But obviously, once I have the opportunity to read his book, like I think a lot of things that like we saw in the first 3 books, like the trilogy, with Aiden and Elsa, like I think I'm gonna have answers to that. So that's what intrigues me so much about Cole's book, is like it's like that period at the end of a 6-book series. So 7 if you count Cruel King, because I mean it's a full book anyways. So that's what I really like about it. But like for Ronan, it really is like he never wanted to get married because he didn't want to be tied down, and he wanted to be able to do what he wanted to do, and he didn't want the responsibility, and he didn't want to feel like chained, right? And then all of a sudden here comes this chick who literally doesn't give up about anyone, let alone him. And she's like, yeah, dude, like, I'm gonna marry you because number 1, it's the right thing to do for my dad, and number 2, because you told me not to do it, like, I'm gonna do it, and you're not gonna boss me around. And I just like love that dynamic between the 2 of them. And I love how much he loves her once he realizes his feelings. Like, it just, like, the I fucking miss you text, I still think about that text. And I just, because it was just like, he's not that type of person. Like, he's not like, it gets to a certain point, like he's making jokes and he's like saying things, and he's just like, you know what, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care how this makes me sound. Like, text me back. Like, tell me you're okay. Like, let me know you're okay, because like, I fucking miss you. And you know what? Like, people don't take into consideration like how beautiful an I miss you is. They don't. But Ronan did. And honestly, he won my heart, because like there's a point in the epilogue where like he's just like sitting there like looking at her and like thinking about like this beautiful life that they're going to be able to have together. And I'm just like, so yeah, anyways, Ronan is my MVP right now. We'll see if Cole can beat him out. I really hope I like Silver at the end of it too. Like, I am like coming around to her, so I have a feeling like I will like her by the end of it. Stay tuned. Next time you see me, I'll be closing this vlog out. That's crazy, because I've been working on it for a little bit now. So yeah, like I'll be closing this vlog out and starting a new one. That's such a crazy thought. But anyway, before I start rambling again, yeah, I'll see you. I will catch you in the next little vloggy vlog section where I talk about Cole and Silver.
Welcome to a corner in my house with my heather long shelves, my shadow back here because the light isn't giving what it needs to give at like, I don't know, I think it's almost midnight while it rains outside. And me having to re-record this footage because I don't know what I did. It's not on my phone, it's not on my computer, it's not anywhere. So we're gonna do this because I really like to get this vlog up. And I'm kind of exhausted too because I had COVID this past week. So that's cute too. So if you've been following, then you know that I've had the flu, like a week and a half off, food poisoning, another week and a half off, COVID. So I'm about done in the not feeling well department. Like this year's gonna be named the one where Miss Kyan gets every sickness in the school. We're just gonna leave it at that. But we're here to talk about Ruthless Empire, which is, wait, hang on. Let me make sure I said that correctly. Okay, yes. So we're here to talk about Ruthless Empire, which is the last book in the Royal Elite series. It's the last book in the Royal Elite series. And this one follows Cole and Silver. So Cole is part of the Guy group, like his dad's some rich and famous politician. And Silver is, and he's our resident like book reader. Like he's always reading a book. Like he's just like as methodical and meticulous and cunning, I would say, as Aiden is, but he's just like very quiet about it, I think is the best way to explain it. And then you have Silver. We all know who Silver is. Silver was originally engaged to Aiden, but then we found out it was fake, and nobody really likes her because she lashes out at everybody because she's angry at herself and angry at her parents, and it's just like a bad scenario, right? So we're all caught up on those two. This is their story, and I am not gonna lie to you, I was kind of hoping that they were gonna get together because Cole's dad and Silver's mom are together, if I remember that correctly. I hope I do. So they're together. Or maybe it's the other way around. Anyways, the parents are married. And the parents are married, but it's not like a blood relation type situation. Which is good because that's not the step-sibling romances that I'm into. Just for clarification. So this opens up, like, the two of them they've been through a lot. They've been through, yes. So they've been through a lot. And there is an underlying mystery in this one as well. And I don't want to give too much away because it actually ends up being, like, a huge plot point in the story. And ends up being, what do you call it? I'm gonna cough. That's the one thing I can't get to go away. The exhaustion and my cough. So I apologize in advance for the coughing. So there is, like, someone's stalking Silver and, like, leaving notes, and it's just like this downright, like, super creepy situation, right? And she doesn't originally tell Cole about it. Like, it's been happening, like, throughout the series. Like, you'll get, like, mentions of it. Like, we think it's this one person. They're just the fall man and all of this. Like, they're not actually the person, right? And the person ends up being, like, listen, it's wild out here. I remember really liking this one, mostly because, you know, like, I'm really into, like, the romantic suspense aspect of it. So, like, we have all the other plot lines happening. We have, like, the timelines overlapping. So we finally are getting, like, the point to where, like, we're getting Silver, we're getting Cole, like, they're fighting through everything that they've been through because, like, he's been shitty to her, she's been shitty to him. Like, it's this whole big mess, and, like, they're both harboring, like, issues from the past and, like, blaming stuff on each other, and it's getting real dicey out here, right? Like super dicey out here. Oh my gosh, that was not. Anyway, so it's getting like really dicey out here, right? And I am always rooting for them because like they are, so this, I feel like there are a lot of tropes wrapped up into this one. Rina Kent likes to do this, but there are a lot of tropes wrapped up into this one. So like you have, like they knew each other as children, step siblings, they were friends, but then they became enemies, and then now they're going to become lovers. And it's just like, for them, it's always felt like very inevitable. And Cole's been in love with her years. Like, so many times in this book, he's just like, I just want to call her mine, and I just want her to be mine. And like, I don't care. I don't care what they'll write about us. I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care what the press has to say. I don't care what my own parents have to say. Like, I'm in love with her, and I want to be with her. And that's like the one thing I think that like really made me ride or die for Cole, because like there were some situations where I just like, wow, I'm not sure I like you. But one thing that really made me like ride or die for him is like from the beginning, like we always knew where he stood in the like from the beginning. And like, yeah, does he do questionable things? Like, for sure. And in real life, would I ever date someone like this? Probably not. I'm not, listen, never say never. Who's saying that? J-Beebs? Anyway, so I'm not going to say never, but like, come on now. Like, I don't ever see myself hooking up with a mafia kid. Like, would they tell me? Anyway, so there's so many really great scenes in like this, and like, so, you know, like you have the scene where Elsa beats Silver up, which we see from Elsa's perspective, which is a bridge towards Cole and her, and then you see like the relationship as a parent and like how that's gonna affect industrial sized bag of cough drops to the rescue. So yeah, so I think it's really interesting how Rina kind of like ties up all the plot points, especially when you think about like all the couples who are now together, and how like Cole and Silver are like kind of the last one to come back together after everything kind of happens for them, and how it like all kind of like infinity symbols like into that final twist. And I will say, I didn't guess her stalker. Not until like we're in the chapter where Cole was putting all the pieces together, which I feel like is kind of cheating because like I guessed it like a couple paragraphs before like I read it from his perspective. But he does get the opportunity to save the day, which I thought was so cute. And obviously Cole was going for being cute, like, you know, like that's obviously. But I did want to read, so like I've been highlighting, and I love quotes. And I just like I've always loved them. So I've been kind of like just like highlighting my favorite moments and stuff like that. And so like I'm kind of really enjoying these reading vlogs because I'm getting the opportunity to like share those with you guys. Whether or not you love them or not, like not worried about it, because I'm going to continue to share my favorite quotes because I think that's my favorite part. So, so this is Cole. And he's saying this to Silver during one of their mini fights because they love to argue. If it were up to me, you'd be fucking mine in front of the entire world. And yes, I would be planning to put a football team worth of babies inside you so you'd always be glued to my side. But you constantly think about your parents and your image and everybody else's fucking opinion. So it's you who won't let anything happen, not me. They're like, you know, raging at each other and stuff. Anyway. And then like a couple pages later, he's like, well, here's the thing, butterfly. He leans over and brushes his lips against my nose. I don't mind self-destructing if it's with you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how I became Team Cole. Right there. Because he's just like, listen, I know you're crazy and you're my brand of crazy and I'm here for it. And I just, like you guys know that I absolutely like eat that up. I can't help it because there's just like an obsession with that. And like, I will like like a hill I'm willing to die on is the hill of like the man recognizes the imperfections in her, and rather than making her feel bad about it, rather than making comments about it, rather than it be like a sticking point for them, he's just like, yeah, like that's her. She's a little crazy, and I love her for it. She's a little dark, and I love her for it. She spirals sometimes, but I love her through it. Like, I just like there's the willingness to get in, like the willingness to like be a partner to her. Like because you know, like Aiden's a psychopath. I wouldn't say Cole like is a psychopath, but like he has tendencies. But it's the just like, yeah, well, like that's my woman. Like that's her. I understand this about her. Like I know she's like this. I know she self-destructs sometimes. I know she pushes everybody away. Like I know this about her, and like she's still mine. I just don't know how people don't find that attractive. Like I don't know how people are just like not. This rainstorm's getting intense. It's literally supposed to rain all night and then all day tomorrow. So it's probably gonna be cold this week. Well, cold for Florida standards. But, and like I said, I don't want to say too much because like I don't want to give away who ends up being the baddie in this one, because I gasped because I was like, oh my gosh. But I will say like Rita doesn't mind. She doesn't mind like pushing the plot where it needs to go, I guess is like the best way to say it. So next up, I've already read the epilogue because I read all the epilogues in the back of the book. There's like a couple extra ones, so I read through those. But next up, I have Jonathan, who is Aiden's dad's. I have his reading vlog. That one's already done. So you're probably like, okay, the math isn't mathing because you're filming this right now, but how do you already have, and like I said, I actually deleted this footage for Cole and Silver. So like, I really hope I did them justice because I love their relationship, but like what I hate about this book so much is I don't want to give too much away because so much happens to tie this series up and so much happens between Silver and Cole that like, I don't want to spoil the whole reason to sit down and read the book. Like, I think I did a somewhat decent job of not spoiling everything that came after Aiden and Elsa. I didn't really have a choice about that though, because Aiden and Elsa was a trilogy. So either I was just gonna be like, yeah, cool, over 3 books, or I was gonna, you know, get into the nitty gritty. But with Cole and Silver, like, they only have 1 book. So, I mean, I rated it 5 stars. I love the dynamic. I love the growth. I loved watching the 2 of them come together, and I loved watching the 2 of them become each other's ride or die. And I really liked watching Silver, like, I don't want to say like come back to the girl group because her and Kim used to be friends. But I really liked seeing that bridge built again. I don't know if that was the metaphor I was going for, but that's the one you got. So I did read the epilogue. I'm probably going to post this, and then like 2 or 3 days later, I'll post Jonathan's. Listen, just know that I started the Royal Elite series like a few years ago, like probably when it first started coming out. I started a few years ago. I enjoyed it, but like I didn't feel the same obsession I'm feeling now to like finish it. So as you guys know, I'm reading in backlist order. So I'm trying to get to the God of series, and one of the books just released, and like everybody's saying amazing things about it. And I'm trying so hard because I'm committed to this project. And I want to be able to enjoy it. So anyway, I've started this 3rd set of books I have to start for this series. and it's taking us in a different direction. And I'm actually like kind of excited about it. So that's what you can expect in the future. I already have Jonathan ready to go. His is, whew, you'll get all my thoughts in that vlog. Like that was, but to kind of like sum everything up here at the end, I was having a conversation with one of my friends. Like I said, I'm sorry about the coffee. Having a conversation about, like, with one of my friends who's like, yeah, I read book 1, read half of book 2, never really, I really feel like you have to be in like the right mindset for this series, number 1, and number 2, like, I feel like you have to be like wanting to read this style of book. And like, as a mood reader, like, I only read what I feel like reading, so it's a little bit different for me. Like, I pick up this project and I put this project down based off of my mood. So right now I feel like a lot of passion for it. I'm blowing through these books. Like, I'm really loving the vlogging. I'm doing a little bit better with like the duets. Having this many books in one series, like I probably shouldn't have done like one big vlog, but like I'm crazy, so yeah. I don't know what I was gonna do with my hands right there. So anyways, but yeah, I would highly recommend reading this series. Like, I had such a good time with it. I love the couples. I'm going to do a separate video for tier ranking my favorite couples in this series. And I think that I've done an okay job of, like, not being too obvious about who ended up being my favorite. Because it, spoiler, is not who I originally thought it was going to be. So I'm actually really excited to do the tier ranking video because I was surprised. Like, color me surprised, y'all. But that's going to be the end of the Royal Elite reading vlog. I hope that you had a great time. I'm sorry I was kind of coffee here at this this part. Hopefully the next time you see me in a video, I'm not sick. You know, make sure you're using hand sanitizer. Make sure if your kids are sick that, you know, they're resting. Stay safe out there because the germs and stuff are wild this year. But also to read the Royal Elite series and come back to my comment section and tell me what a good time you had, because yeah, you're right. These boys are crazy, but like, I'm into it. Just like they're into their crazy ladies, okay? So, that'll be it for this first episode and this first reading vlog. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Rina Kent Backlist. I really got to come up with a name for it, especially since I'm going to be posting this. But yeah, so that's all I've got for you. Oh my goodness. That's all I've got for you in this vlog. And I will catch you in the next one, which is going to be Jonathan. So, bye.